Shalom and welcome back to News Bytes. It's been a few weeks, but I'm excited to get back into it. This newsletter is on John chapter 3, and it is called Born Anew. I'm going to start off reading the newsletter, and I'm going to go ahead and read the article Eliyahu put at the bottom because it's pretty interesting. From Eliyahu, Shalom friends. People need renewal. Joseph Coughlin of the Age Lab at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge wants to give it to them. He and his team study the problems of aging through life, problems we all must experience, and tries to produce marketable solutions to ease the process. You would think that this would be a universal market, but there's a problem with that, which I'll get into in a minute. Coughlin says this, quote, "From 0 to 21 is about 8,000 days. From 21 to midlife crisis is 8,000 days. From mid-40s to 65, 8,000 days. Nowadays, if you make it to 65, you have a 50% chance you'll make it to 85. Another 8,000 days." End quote. That's it. A rare few get a bit more than 85 useful years, but not most of us. Even in this modern age, we normally get 4 or maybe 5 life eras of 8,000 days each. That's supposed to be more than earlier generations, but guess what? 3,000 years ago, people had about the same expectation. The psalmist wrote, quote, "The days of our years are 70, or even by reason of strength, 80 years. Yet their pride is but labor and sorrow, for it passes quickly, and we fly away." End quote. Psalms 90:10. For me, that verse from 3,000 years ago disagrees with the current theme that modern people are living so much longer today than they did thousands of years ago. The truth is, the needle on mankind's age meter hasn't significantly moved forward in 3,000 years, despite the best efforts of researchers like Mr. Coughlin. This brings us to the stereotype of crotchety old people that younger folks often like to make jokes about. Sometimes it's true that seniors can be snippy, and the reason isn't hard for other seniors to comprehend. The reason is non-stop perpetual aggravation. The fact is, as you move through those 4 or 5 eras of life, you keep losing more and more of what you started out with, including bodily capacities. That translates into a lot of frustration over normal, simple problems as those losses heap up over time. The Psalms calls it labor and sorrows, and that makes some people kind of snippy sometimes. If you don't understand that right now, don't worry about it. You will. If you've gotten this far reading these comments, you are a rare person indeed. Why do I say that? It's because of something Mr. Coughlin at the Age Lab has discovered. The New York article where I learned all this about Mr. Coughlin and the Age Lab explains, quote, "The work of the Age Lab is shaped by a paradox. Having been established to engineer and promote new products and services specially designed for the expanding market of the aged, the Age Lab swiftly discovered that engineering and promoting new products and services specially designed for the expanding market of the aged is a good way of going out of business. Old people will not buy anything that reminds them that they are old. They are a market that cannot be marketed to. We would rather suffer because we're old than accept that we're old and suffer less." End quote. Most humans seem to have a mental block against accepting their mortal condition. They just block out anything that reminds them of that truth. As a minister of the word, I get that completely. For over 50 years of my life, I've been telling people the obvious truth, that they need renewal, and the only way they will get it is through embracing the Lord of life, the Messiah. Most don't listen or say they will get to that later, for the same reason they don't want to hear about Mr. Coughlin's innovations seeking to ease the problems of aging. They simply won't buy anything that tells them that they are not immortal, even if it's obvious truth. I came to understand the nature of that irrational block many years ago. That's when I gave up on the idea that I can break through that barrier with any individual. I can't. Only God can do that. If you haven't been born anew, it can still happen for you. I pray that you'll man up and talk to God about it while you still can. You must be born anew. And that is on John chapter 3. And I admit that I've been aggravated by crotchety old people. But like he said, you'd be pretty impatient too if, you didn't have the same bodily capacities and younger people were giving you attitude all the time, not listening, blowing you off, etc. But that brings us to the article at the bottom. And I'm going to read that right now. Eliyahu put in editor's note, "Unregenerate humanity is trying to invent its own path to being born again by drilling a hole in your head and wiring you up to a computer." Really, this is not a joke, and it's happening next year. Humanity 2.0, merging with AI in 2020. The tech billionaire announced his controversial startup Neurallink is planning to test their brain-computer interface in 2020 with availability to the public following in as little as 2 years. Neurallink, the Elon Musk-backed startup that aims to directly link brains and computers, offered a live stream update last week. It outlined plans to begin human trials as early as next year. The company's proprietary system drills a small hole in the skull and feeds thousands of electrical probes into the brain, which allows it to control a computer. The concept has already been proven with monkeys. Neuralink's primary initiative promises to help people with brain and spinal cord injuries who have lost the ability to move or sense, but that's just a stop on the road to building a digital superintelligence layer that would link humans with artificial intelligence. This idea may sound like a sci-fi novel, but if Musk and his startup can persuade regulators, they could very well redefine computing and humanity. The future-obsessed Musk sees the company as important to civilization. He's quoted as saying, "Even in a benign AI scenario, we will be left behind." Hopefully, it is a benign scenario. With a high-bandwidth brain-machine interface, I think we can go along for the ride and effectively have the option of merging with AI. End quote. I found that interesting because Eliyahu recently released a video going into Neuralink and taking lots of clips from Elon Musk discussing Neuralink and how they're going to put this technology in your brain by 2020. And all the ways it will help humanity too, of course. But that video isn't out yet. However, I would like you to subscribe and hit the notifications button so that when we do put out that video, you'll see it because I think it's very important information. And of course, you can watch the meeting on John 3, as usual, right over here.